When you've been playing Rec Room for a few years and there's only a few activities that keep you coming back to it, that selection of activities is not always going to cut it all the time. I went looking through all of Rec Room's current RROs in the game, and I took some time to think of what I would do to make the lesser known ones more popular and have people coming back to them more often. In this video, I'll be talking about park, soccer, lounge, and paddleball. And obviously everything I see here is just my opinion on what would make these activities better. Let's talk about park. Right now, the park just seems like a ghost town to me with maybe a few screen players here and there. I understand that it is just a park, but being a VR-only player, if I see that Rec Room as a park, it's gotta have some pretty fun stuff to draw me to it, which it currently doesn't. The way it is now, I don't see the point of having it in the game when you could just socialize in the rec center, or the millions of community hangout rooms. The biggest thing I think would help the park is new activities that are exclusive to the park. Now, I'm not saying create new RROs that are accessible only within the park, but just small activities within the many areas that currently have nothing to do there. For example, there's a pond with a waterfall near the cave area of the park. Why not give us some pebbles to bounce across the pond? We could chill with friends and then see who could get the most distance. Another idea I had is to implement a tennis court next to the basketball court behind me. I know we already have the paddleball activity, which again I do talk about later, but in that one the paddleball just flies back and forth in zero gravity, so I think just having regular tennis would help the park a lot. And with how big the park is, I feel like there's definitely enough space to accommodate a couple go-karts to mess around with as well. Now of course, if this were implemented, I imagine that the other activities would be closed off in some kind so that they can't be interrupted by the go-karts. There could even be a dedicated section of the park for players to race each other in the go-karts, I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff that could be done with granting access to go-karts in the park. I think adding small activities along with some go-karts would make the park more lively and make it an interesting alternative to the rec center with its own stuff to draw people in. While I'm on the subject of the park, I also want to bring up soccer here as well. Now, I only played about 3 games of soccer when it first came out on Quest 2 and proceeded to completely forget about it. That was until April 1st of 2020 when this started arising. Rec Room had a social event in the park to bring people together and play games with each other in the midst of what was going on at the time. So they altered the park with new decorations and new activities to do, one of these being soccer in the center field. This was the most fun I've ever had playing soccer in Rec Room, much more so than the actual soccer RRO, because it was in a much more open area and people were able to just join in whenever they wanted. I think it worked better in the park than its actual activity room. And I've always wondered why it was never implemented as a normal part of the park. I think it would serve well as an optional game for the center field of the park. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the lounge. As it stands right now, the lounge is basically just a smaller, less interesting version of the rec center. There are some aspects I like about it. I think the card table is a pretty neat idea to have. Having drawing boards in the room is always entertaining. But even those things aren't enough to make me consider going to the lounge instead of the rec center. I think the lounge could be a great place to have recurring community events and games with rewards as well. There could be things like trivia challenges, board games, drawing games with the boards that the lounge already has. And hell, Rec Room already removed the pool table from the rec center, why not put it in the lounge? What I think could help give these games incentive for players to win is to reward the player with, let's say, a 4-star box or maybe a set number of tokens. Maybe there could also be a leaderboard keeping track of how many lounge games that a player has won, and maybe there could be milestone rewards for every 10 wins or every 20 wins or something. You could give them stuff like a hair dye of their choosing or a piece of clothing of their choosing for free. I think that these things could both give the lounge its own purpose and also give a fun reason for people to come back to it. And last up is paddleball. Honestly, I feel like the concept of this one is really good, but it's very underutilized. The idea of having the ball flying in zero gravity as the players hit it back and forth is fun in theory, but it's kind of let down by the play area itself. Having just one confined space to play it in not only makes it get old quickly, but it only gives the players a very short amount of time to react and actually swing the ball back and forth.
Go! 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 Go!
This is why I think that making a new play area with a lot of more space to move around in can make the game more engaging and actually give the players more reaction time so the games don't devolve into each player instantly scoring when it's their turn to serve. And with these theoretical larger play areas, I think it would also make sense to open the game up to more than just 2 players. And that's about all I have. If you want to let me know any ideas that you have to improve these ROs, let me know in the comments.